Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video I want to talk to you about the Marchman Act and answer the very important question, which is, what is the Marchman Act? So the Marchman Act is a statute that's unique to Florida that empowers you to make a decision for your loved one they simply cannot make, which is, if they have a substance use disorder and co-occurring mental illness, you can make the decision to put them into treatment. That's right, you can put them into treatment even though they don't want to go. And so it's a two-step process. The first part of the process, which is part one, which is assessment, and the second part is treatment. So the assessment period can be initiated one of two ways, either on an emergency basis, which means basically we're going to get a court order and have a judge issue an order allowing the police to come and get your loved one, or it can be done on a non-emergency basis, which means that there's going to be a hearing and we have to show a reasonable basis for wanting to get your loved one assessed. But let's talk in sort of reality, which is that 9 times out of 10 these cases come in as an emergency. And as I've sort of joked in the past, no one wants to call a lawyer and they certainly don't want to give us any money. And so we're typically the last port of call. And when a client calls us, they're like, listen, we need something done, and we want it done yesterday. If not yesterday, the day before yesterday. So this is really the reality of what we deal with, and we're happy to deal with it and flattered when families call us for help. So the first part of this is to get your loved one assessed. That is a 5-day period where your loved one is going to be held somewhere. That 5-day period can be extended when we file for part 2. So part 1 is the emergency petition for assessment and stabilization, and the second part is a petition for treatment services. And what that is basically requesting is a hearing before the judge, because at that point your loved one has to be afforded their rights to due process, their right to a hearing, their right to counsel. And at that point, your loved one can either agree to go to treatment for up to, not for, but up to 90 days, or we will present our case, which means that, in theory, you could have to testify against your loved one. And I know that's an uncomfortable thing. I've sat there with many mums and dads and spouses who are trying to get their loved one help, and it's not a particularly pleasurable experience. But typically those hearings are done. They normally take a couple of hours at most. And it's basically a small trial, except it's confidential, and unless you're a party to the proceeding, you don't get to come in and watch. It's not open to the public. And so if we prove our case by clear and convincing evidence, at that point, your loved one's going to be sent for treatment at a facility that you can designate, unless they have a better alternative, for periods of up to 90 days. And what that means is that the facility has discretion not only how long to keep your loved one, but on what level of care. Is it residential? Is it partial hospitalization? Is it some type of outpatient? Typically, the person normally begins in residential or partial hospitalization, and at some point they may step down. Now, what's great about the Marchman Act is that it allows us to extend the period of treatment. So let's say we get a court order for up to 90 days. Anytime before the 80th day, we can file what's known as a petition for extension. And as long as we can establish that the person still needs treatment services, we can get a court to issue an order for up to another 90 days. So I will tell you that just from sort of practical experience, most of our clients work with us for about 6 months. So if you hire us, you're hiring us for a minimum of 90 days. Why 90 days? Well, I'm going to get you a 90-day court order, and we want to be on board with this thing because we want to go on the journey with you, because we know from experience that this is a journey, and this is just the beginning of the journey. And if we're along for the ride, that helps to frankly make the process a little smoother, which is one of the reasons my phone's answered 24/7. But recovery is it's sort of almost like the stock market, right? It's not a straight line. It can be like this, right? It tends to get, things get better over time, but it can be a rough journey, and we want to make sure that the journey is as smooth as possible, and we're there to sort of hold your hand through the process. So that is the Marchman Act, Chapter 397. One of my favorite topics, right up there with the Baker Act. So if you want to talk to us about getting your loved one into treatment, feel free to reach out to us. You can email me, you can call me, you can message me through the website. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all those other social media platforms. You can pretty much find me. You can just Google me. So we're here to help, and this is what we do. In fact, it's all we do. So thanks for tuning in. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.